Showing we're live, Joe, is that correct? Ready to go? Thank you very much. And sorry for the viewing public who have been waiting since 6 o'clock. If there are a few of you out there, we had some technical difficulties with our hardware, so we've rectified that, and here we are now. This is the regular council meeting for the Town Lake Cowichan Council, Tuesday, January 26th. That's starting at 6:23. But before we get started, I'd like to acknowledge that we're holding this meeting on the traditional territories of the Siouxsit First Nation. And also, I would like to remind staff and council that we are live streaming this meeting on our Lake Cowichan YouTube channel, and ask all participants to ensure your faces are visible on the screen. Sometimes I've noticed some folks are showing only half their beautiful faces, so just a reminder about that. Also, I'd like to remind everyone to please mute their microphones while not speaking, with the exception of the chair of the meeting. For the public, we have two portions of all our meetings that are for public participation, and they are as follows. The verbal comments from the public on a subsequent agenda item. We will pause for 3 minutes to receive email general@lakecowichan.ca. Comments can also be mailed prior to each meeting should you desire. Also, we have a question period further down in the agenda where we will also pause for 3 minutes to receive email questions to general@lakecowichan.ca as well. Questions can also be emailed prior to or following the meeting to the above email address to be answered by the appropriate committee chair. Some questions may be referred to staff for a response. Thank you to the public for attending, and it just helps us be a more transparent level of government for your local community. So with that, I'd like to call this meeting to order. Are there any late items to add to this agenda? I'm looking at staff, and the answer is no. So then I would like a motion to approve this agenda as presented, please. Moved by Councillor Austin, second by Councillor Bomaka. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? The motion's carried. Thank you very much. Now we're looking for adoption of the minutes of the regular meeting of council held on December 22nd, 2020. Any errors, omissions? Moved by Councillor McGonigal, seconded by Councillor Sandhu, maybe? Thank you very much, Councillor Sandhu. Any further discussion on those minutes? All right, thank you. I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you so much. Business arising and unfinished business. I see none. Now here is where we will pause. Oh, sorry, we have no delegations or representations here as well. Now we will take a pause for 3 minutes. So we'll be back at 6:29. We'll just wait for any verbal comments from the, or not verbal, email comments from the public. Thank you, Mr. Fernandez, for keeping the time and looking for those emails.
Yeah. No, we have the live meetings on our website.
So is council on again?
She needs to go to YouTube.
When he's ready, Alex.
Mr. Fernandez, any
She was-
questions?
Yeah, there was one question from Catherine Worsley. She wants to know how she can view the meetings. I think it's a matter of going to our website, looking at the main site, drop down and it says live meetings.
Yes, I had that question posed to me today as well, and the instructions were go to the website, click Town Hall, and click Meetings Live, and it takes you directly to the meetings. I did that on my iPhone, my iPad, my laptop, and my PC, and it worked in all situations. So if folks are having problems, I'm thinking it could be with their hardware, but I'm not sure. So.
Businesses and organizations for assistance under the COVID money that has been received.
Okay.
All right. All right.
Okay, just want to, there is another question about COVID funding. It's not on the agenda, so I'm not sure if you want to entertain that.
Yeah, it's subsequent items on the agenda. It's quite specific, so we're not here to answer that question tonight, but perhaps we can put it in a mailbox for to answer an appropriate time, and maybe ask that person to or give that person instructions via email when to pose that question. That'd be awesome. Thank you. All right. Just a question to council though. Has anybody else experienced any other residents having problems accessing our live meeting? I don't see anybody saying yes, so I'll leave it at that because sometimes different technologies act different with Zoom, as we found out tonight. All right, so then we can move on to number 7, correspondence. We have 2 pieces of correspondence there. Item number 1, Mr. Fernandez, could you describe that to us?
The province has made funding available, emergency funding available to each of the communities, Ladysmith, the town, Duncan, and North Cowichan, and the CBRD. And the CBRD is asked if they could be the applicant for the entire region. So our $25,000, which we would have applied for, would be applied for through their funding. So they'd be able to apply for $125,000. So they're just looking for council approval for them to apply on behalf of the town.
Discussion, Councilor McGonigal.
And I think this does reside within the regional district, the emergency services portion of it, which we do contribute to through that line item as a regional service. And it would be appropriate for the provider of that service to apply on behalf of all those participants, in my view. So I would move a letter of support on the application for the town of Lake Cowichan's portion of the grant by the CBRD.
Second by Councilor Sandhu. Is there any more discussion? All righty. And I'll call the question on that motion. All those in favor? Opposed? The motion is carried. Thank you very much. We can move along to item 2, Tristan Peterson and Erica Bloom, Lake Cowichan School reformation of a youth council. Just a brief preamble there. I was invited to a meeting. I attended 2. Watched this group and heard that they wanted to get in contact with town council and get their opinion on formation of a youth council. So I I said that they should write this letter. So it's here for your perusal and any discussion. Councilor McGonigal.
Thank you. And I don't want to control any discussion, but I'm very excited about this coming forward at this time. We've tried numerous occasions in the past to encourage a youth council, along with other areas within our immediate boundaries. Also looking at this, Duncan, for instance, has had a youth council in the past. I would most certainly encourage us to engage with this group that is showing interest in the governance of the town, and looking at how we can incorporate their input into future meetings, whether it be a separate committee, a piggyback committee on one that is presently here, and encouraging them to participate virtually as well for the time being. If and when the time comes that we can gather again as a group within Town Hall, we can most certainly have them join us at that time. But I would support this group coming forward as a youth council, shadow youth council.
Councilor Austin.
Yes, I too would support it. I was working with them, I guess it's 2019 now. There were 5 that were interested in becoming a youth council, and then some of them moved on and went to higher education. Tristan did come to our meeting last year when Ella spoke following her time at the provincial legislature that we sponsored for her. She's now taking online classes. So Tristan said he would follow through and start this group, and he has done. So I'm glad you got to meet with him, and I totally support it too, and hope we can get together at some point.
All right. So how do we express the support at this time point? Maybe email correspondence or a letter back, suggesting that we have them as a Zoom delegation one evening or something.
Sure.
I'm not sure.
That sounds good. Yeah.
Any comments? Okay. Well, we can discuss that at agenda prep. Councilor McGonigal.
And at that time, we can have an endorsed resolution by this group incorporating the youth council by resolution and incorporating that into our procedural bylaw, perhaps looking at how that can be implemented and updated.
Yeah. Okay. So that'd be just direction to staff to respond to this letter and asking them to expect a future Zoom invite, and we'll discuss that Zoom invite at our agenda prep and discuss what meeting that might be most appropriate at. If that's okay with everybody, nod of heads, awesome. Thank you. Okay, I look forward to that meeting. All right, so we can move along to reports then. And the first report is the Finance Administration meeting held January 12th, 2021. Councillor McGonigal.
Thank you very much, Mayor Day. I would like to move the minutes of the Finance Administration meeting held electronically at Lake Cowichan on January 12th, 2021, with the following recommendations. That the committee recommend that a letter of support be sent to the Lake Cowichan Kinsman on its efforts to obtain funding through co-op community spaces, so the upgrade and installation of playground equipment at Duck Pond could be made. Also, that the committee recommend the appointment to the Advisory Planning Commission of the following for a 2-year term beginning January 1st, 2021 be made. Those names are Darlene Ector, Lynn Klein, Pat Lamont, Janice New, and Robert Patterson. And the committee members discussed the biannual meeting with areas directors F and I. I have reached out to those fellow directors, and they are interested in a virtual meeting subsequent to our conclusion of budget discussions. They have both indicated that they are willing to look forward on topics that are of interest to the whole area. And with that, Mr. Day, I will move those minutes.
Thank you very much. Looking for a seconder, Councillor Sandu. Any discussion on those minutes? All those in favor then? Opposed? The motion is carried. Thank you. Councillor Bomaka, was that a question you had?
Yes, I was
Oh,
just going
sorry.
to add a comment that I did speak to one of the members of the Kinsmen and was talking to them about the 8 to 80. And he was going to bring it back to the Kinsmen because he said that they had never thought about incorporating anything for older elderly people into the duck pond. And he was quite excited about it. I gave him the link to the 8 to 80 report. And they were going to look at it and consider maybe 2 pieces of equipment in that upgrade.
All right. Thank you very much for that,
Thank you.
Councillor Bomaka. So we're going to move right back to you. Oh, I called a question first, did I? Oh, I did, didn't I? Thank you. Okay, Public Works and Environmental Service Committee meeting held January 19th, 2021. Councillor Bomaka.
So I'll, oh my gosh. My tongue's tied. What do I call it? Can you imagine that after a whole month? I'm
You're going to
Okay,
move the minutes, aren't
starter
you?
for me. There we go.
Yeah,
Thank you.
okay.
I should have been, in bed at 5 o'clock. So I'm moving the minutes of the Public Works and Environmental Services Committee meeting of January the 19th, 2021 with the following recommendations. And the first one is that the committee recommend that the Stone Park capital project upgrades estimated at $45,000 be allocated in the 2021 budget. And the second one is that the committee recommend that the engineering and design work for inflow and infiltration at Arbutus and Alder Streets at a cost of $15,000 be allocated also in the 2021 budget. Thank you.
And Mr. Mayor, I'm going to remove myself on the video for these 2 recommendations as there is a perceived conflict on the presentation by my grandson on the improvements of Stone Park. So I will remove myself and join you when I get a text.
Councillor Sandu will text you. Okay, is that okay? Okay. So motion to approve those minutes as presented or with the recommendation, sorry. Moved by Councillor Austin, seconded by Councillor Sandu. All those in favor? Opposed? That motion's carried. Thank you very much. I guess we can call Councillor McGonigal back now. That was quick. Welcome back, sir.
Here's my smiling face once again.
All right. Keep practicing that smile. You'll need it for tomorrow. All right. Okay, so the minutes of the Parks, Recreation, and Culture Committee meeting held January 19th, 2021. Councillor Austin, please.
Thank you. I'd like to move the minutes of the Parks, Recreation, and Culture meeting held on electronically on January 19th as presented.
Thank you very much. Second by Councillor McGonigal. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Next, we have the minutes of the Sustainable Planning Committee meeting held January 12th, 2021. And this is the first time that I've ever had the question. It is okay for me to report that we have a rise and report on something from in camera? Yes?
Yes, indeed.
Okay, thank you very much. First time ever that's happened. So I would like to move the minutes as the Sustainable Planning Committee held January 12th, 2021 with the following recommendation: that the committee arise and report that it recommends that the resolution R.00795/19 dealing with the annexation of Lot 1 Plan 33108 which is 8079 Nizer Road, be rescinded. That is all. Seconded by Councillor McGonigal. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? That motion carries. Thank you very much. The next item is the Cowichan Lake Recreation Commission. That is myself also. Nothing to report from the last meeting. It was very quick, and precise, so there was no recommendations made. So that is all. I can share the minutes with you at tomorrow if you like. Councilor McGonigal.
If I may, it would probably be appropriate if those minutes could be included in the council package.
Yeah.
For perusal in the future. I know we've had some questions on that in the past, and they have been coming forward regularly to an extent. I know that that meeting was not very long, but in the future, if we could include them for our following along while you do report, I think that would be appropriate. Thank you.
Yeah, and we'll follow up with that at our agenda setting meeting as well. Thank you very much. I agree. Okay, so the Vancouver Island Regional Library, we have Councillor Austin, or are we back to Councillor Vomaka? Yeah, Councillor Vomaka, thank you very much.
Thank you. So the AGM and Board of Trustees meeting is this Saturday, and it'll be held electronically through Zoom, which should be interesting with 30-something people voting. So that'll be a challenge. And also I registered for something quite interesting, and it's a question and answer on the Indian Act with Bob Joseph. And that'll be Thursday, January the 28th by Zoom, and it's held by the library. And so unfortunately, they sent a thing saying that you should read the book, which is called 21 Things That You May Not Know About the Indian Act, before you have the interview with him. Unfortunately, 2 days notice is not enough to get the book and read it, because of course it's already reserved everywhere. So I'll just have to join along and see what I can learn, and it's pretty interesting. So he's a member of the Thunderbird clan, and he's the founder and president of Indigenous Corporate Training, which offers training on Indigenous relations to government and corporate clients. And so it's an essential guide to understanding the legal document and its repercussions on generations of Indigenous people, and written by a leading cultural sensitivity trainer. So it sounds pretty interesting. So if I can, I'll give a report on it. Hopefully I'll be able to get into Zoom and learn something.
Thank you, Mayor Day. I've had the opportunity I've had the opportunity to listen to Mr. Joseph in previous occasions, and very enthralling speaker and very knowledgeable. So you will enjoy it. If you can take in as much as you can and share with us the content of that, I would very much appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor McGonigal. I just have a question that you may or may not have an answer to. I have not been to the library since COVID and then their new operating procedures. So has anybody else been, and does anybody know how they're doing there? Or are they managing to hold up a little bit of circulation of books and stuff? Councillor Austin, thank you.
I think they open at 2 in the afternoons now, and they were going to have the computers open. Kirsten didn't come to our last outreach meeting, so I haven't contacted her, but they are still doing, you order books and they're ready for you to come and pick up. So, and that they're open Tuesday to Saturday, as far as I know, is what I gather.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they did change their hours.
Again?
They open at 2 o'clock.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
All right. Okay, thank you very much. And I'm sure that they'll be presenting some form of report about COVID at the meeting that Councillor Vomaka attends to. So be interesting to hear how they've been faring this event. Any more questions for Councillor Vomaka? All right, we can move along to the Advisory Planning Commission. Councillor Austin.
Thank you. Yes, we didn't have a meeting in December. Our meeting is this coming Thursday. We will greet our two new members, Janice and Lynn, and they will elect a chair. We'll be talking about, contract planner will be talking about the zoning bylaw update. And the new business that we'll be working on is the active transport network plan. Over and out.
Okay, that's everything. Okay, thank you very much. Short and sweet, but I'm sure next time will be a little bit longer. Okay, so then we can go to the Community Forest Co-op. Councillor McGonigal.
Nothing to report this month, Meredith.
Thank you very much. Well, I'm sure you'll have something to report on the next item, Cowichan Valley Regional District Board meeting. Councillor McGonigal.
Well, there may be something on that. I'm not quite sure. I'm positive that a couple of you have been watching the live meetings of the Special Corporate Services, both today and yesterday, the marathon sessions on the budget discussions, and any interest in bringing functions forward for further discussion. It was a long and arduous meeting on Monday. We did not get through the total budget functions on the Monday, so we did reconvene this morning at 9:30. We're in the 11th hour of budget discussions with the CBRD on various functions. If you have a chance, you can go on to the CBRD website under the 2021 budget and look under Schedule E and note the impacts to the town of Lake Cowichan on what has been afforded for approval so far within the budget. There is another meeting on February 10th to finalize the budget, and at that time, all functions will be brought forward and voted on through a weighted vote system. And in the weighted vote system, that resides within the population as to how many votes each director has at the table on matters of monetary interest. During committee, it's one director, one vote. On monetary items, it can go to a weighted vote system if there is a question on that. So for instance, the District of North Cowichan, with its population of 29,676, have 3 directors on the board and a total of 15 weighted votes. Myself, as the Lake Cowichan representative, with a population of 3,226, I have a weighted vote of 2. So Duncan numbers are on there as well. This is from the website, British Columbia website, which shows weighted vote systems in all regional districts, and money matters are of weighted interest in those votes. So tomorrow is a regional services and a board package dealing with various items within that. You're more than welcome to tune in starting again at 9:30 precisely, and the board resumes at 1:30, I believe, or 2. But it's been a long, arduous process. Very engaged directors on topics that they are passionate about one way or the other. We try to be as respectful as we can. Sometimes we do vary in the way that we do present ourselves. But in the end, we are all exercising our fiduciary duty as elected regional members on the interests of the region as a whole. It's difficult at times as a municipal director to get your head around the functions within the CBRD and how money cannot be moved around from function to function, for instance. We have the levity within our budget system where we can move some funds around, except for water and sewer. But we can move within our capital portion. And unfortunately, that is not the case within the CBRD function system. If you contribute to the function, There is a maximum requisition, and other than going to bylaw to increase that, that is where it resides. So I hope to have final numbers on February 10th. Preliminary to what we have done so far, it is a 2.48% increase in the CBRD taxation. Of course, that is throughout all budgets. When you look at ours, there is a different percentage increase in Schedule E in Lake Cowichan. I believe it's 3 point something. Assessments have gone up in most areas, except for the rural areas within the managed forest portion of their taxation. So given that, with a reduction in the managed forest system, the taxation that has been lost in that is moved towards other portions in their tax program, whether it be residential, commercial, or other entities. So a very convoluted process, but very entertaining and interesting. So if there's any questions, please.
Thank you, Councilor McGonigal. I'm going to have to say, if anybody wants a crash course in how to chair lively meetings, that they should tune into a corporate services meeting when they're discussing budgets, because it's a very challenging time. Had experienced that in the past myself, but not quite so as intense as this year's process. So thank you, Councilor McGonigal, for providing your service to that committee.
Well, I appreciate that. And I just want to let you know that the board has mandated a 0% increase on core items within the regional district. And anything that comes forward with an increase above that has to come with a report and accompanying staff report on why the need of that is. So there has been a few, for instance, in solid waste that have exceeded the mandate. And those are expenses that are beyond the control of the regional district. For instance, export fees, transportation of waste streams to Urbanco, which is a United States facility that currently takes our refuse. There's currently a committee within the Association of Vancouver Island Coastal Communities that is looking at other options for waste removal, not only in our regional districts, but in the other regional districts that reside within the ABICC. They're looking at all options to accommodate the collection of waste within the ABICC mandate. And I'm looking forward to what comes forward with that report. There has been some preliminary work done on that. And Mr. Morrison, our area director, as president of ABICC, will keep us apprised as to where that comes and how it moves forward. So just a reminder that even though there is a mandate of 0%, some of those will increase due to something that is beyond the control, for instance.
Thank you very much, and thank you for pointing everybody to Schedule E. And I'm encouraging all of council to go visit that draft budget and look for that schedule, because it will help you explain to any constituents that come to you with concerns about how their taxes are apportioned at the CBRD level. So, and it's not that hard to understand too. They present it very well, from what I remember, in very layman's terms with graphs and charts. So thank you very much, Councilor McGonigal, again. Next, we'll go to the Community Outreach Team Committee, Councilor Austin.
Thank you. We had our meeting last week, 2 o'clock on Thursday. It was a small meeting. There was Sergeant Watson, Laurel Crawford, Linda Sked, myself, and Adrienne from Community Services. A lot of people are busy with the COVID things right now, so we're having smaller groups. They're updating the resource guide. The resource guide tells you all the places to get different food products and different things like that and services within our area. Myself, Darlene, and William are doing soup and sandwiches. We're doing Mondays. William's doing Thursdays for the people in need. They're going to keep that up till the end of March. They have a budget for that. Wednesdays is the free store, where they get items from restaurants and grocery stores from the green community, and they're making some little meals on wheels to put in the freezer as well. And the president and his wife from the senior center are picking some up on Thursday and delivering them to seniors in need that they know. Cowichan Lake Rec has some programs started up. We're doing Fit for Life now on Wednesdays at 11. We have 9 participants. I'm one of the instructors because they couldn't find anybody else. At the moment, that has a valid ticket. Mine has actually passed, but I've still had a valid one. And some of the programs, they want you to check in online and register in advance. I'd mentioned that we had live council meetings now on YouTube, and I mentioned the active transport study that people should fill out online. And when I was talking a little bit about the homeless and that type of thing, I mentioned that a Park Place, we thought maybe they could sit and eat their sandwiches in there. But that some people said that that was not a good place for them. So Laurel asked me why, and because she's in contact with those people, she will probably talk to them and find out what they want. I know that we're trying, and people need to know that we are trying to help those in need. And I think community services is doing a good job, actually. There's lots of food. There's usually 2 or 3 different sets of soups in the freezer, and we have lots of different food going on. So that's about it from outreach. It's a great group of people, and I just wish the rest of them would come, because it's good to know what's going on in the whole community, including the library and the connection to the school, which I had before and I don't have now at the moment.
Thank you very much, Councillor Austin. That's good stuff to hear from that end of the community, so appreciate you attending those meetings. So last but not least, we have Councillor Sandu with 2 reports.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Save the best for
So,
last, our Cowichan first.
I attended virtually on January 14th, our meeting. We had a presentation for Cowichan Hospice House, and their vision is compassionate, person-centered, end-of-life and bereavement care available to anyone, anywhere in the Cowichan region. They opened November 2020. They have 10 beds, 7 are authorized. The beginning of December, all beds were full for palliative care. The week of January 14th, there were 1 to 2 beds empty. There are no palliative care patients at CDH. And that's a really exciting thing for the families, for the patients. They really spoke on the need for the families to be together, and especially during COVID. And they had a 20-minute video on the hospice house, and it's just a beautiful, beautiful facility. And then our Cowichan, we looked at our goals and objectives, and there were 4 points of it. One is recognize and respond to emerging issues in Cowichan. Number 2, promote health and wellness. Number 3, continue to focus on identified issues and opportunities. And number 4, foster the health, vitality, sustainability of our network. So this is a really phenomenal group of people. Healthcare, there's not just healthcare, there's so many components. So it's a wonderful, wonderful organization. And I filled out the membership application for 2021. So I've sent that in. And our next meeting is March 11th.
Thank you very much. Councillor McGonigal.
First of all, thank you very much for that report. I had the opportunity prior to the November opening as a regional director, along with my counterparts, to tour that facility and just to see the facility in person. I think leaves you in awe.
Yeah.
To look at the building as you drive by, it's a great looking building.
Yeah.
To go inside and see the Cedar Room, for instance, dedicated First Nations prayer, etc., and the room that is totally dedicated to First Nation palliative care within the 10 that you spoke of. If you ever do get an opportunity and are afforded that, please take a tour of that building and see the regional approach of that.
Yeah.
I remember when this first came forward as a grant and aid from the Hospice Society on looking at their previous location on Gibbons Road very small, one bed, and the people who needed the services were afforded that within Cowichan District Hospital. To see them moved from the palliative care that they had to what they have now, compassion, care, counseling, it's just, I'm in awe.
Yeah.
It's an awesome spot.
Yeah. Thank you.
All
All
right.
right. So Cowichan Watershed Board, we had our meeting yesterday. We started the meeting with a roundtable on reflections of the 2020 watershed year. And basically everybody was saying the same thing. 2020 was a good watershed year. We talked about 2019. I talked about 2019 when we had to pump the water and whatnot. And so that was good. And then we talked about, there's 4 different videos on the Cowichan Watershed Board website. And it would be really good for you guys to take a look at it and review each one, because it all comes back through to Lake Cowichan, where it starts, Lake Cowichan. And it's just the perspectives of so many different people. And Chief Seymour, one thing he said that really stood out to me was, we need healthy watersheds as they are the lifeblood of our communities. And that really just hit home for me, that we take so many things for granted, and water is one that we can't anymore. So, and then we had a short presentation from Deborah Curran, who is an environmental law professor at the Law Clinic at UVic. And she's been brought in regarding the weir, the building of the weir, and looking at what is conservation water licenses. Basically, while an entity holds the license to it, what obligations what obligation does the entity have? The other one was regulatory expropriation as it relates to flooding and water. And the question is, can one entity hold a water license while another entity is responsible for the liabilities? And it is proven in BC and Canada that there can be 2 entities that are part of the license. The third one is the state agency as a regulator and licensee. So it's the question of, will the province want to hold the water license? Right now they're saying no. And so that's the question right now, is who is going to be the licensee to the water license. So that's an unknown. It's in the works. And we elected a new board member, Linda Higgins. She's from the DFO, South Coast Area Director. And our next meeting is February 22nd.
Thank you very much, Councillor Sandu. You hold a very valuable seat at that table. It's every time water issues come up in our community, quite often we hear folks talk about, we have more water than we need. What's the problem? Well, you get to experience and listen to what the problems and issues are downstream, and how everything that happens here affects the folks downstream to Duncan, the ocean.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so it's great to hear the perspectives that you bring back. Councillor McGonigal?
Thank you very much. And I'm happy to hear that legal counsel has been brought on board to deal with some of the issues that have been in the background for many, many years. Since the implementation of perceived increase in height of the weir. That has always been a stumbling block as to who would hold the license, regulatory questions, and liability questions. So I'm glad we're looking at all avenues on the aspect of how licensees could be multi-responsible. That's an interesting concept that I never envisioned coming forward. I thought one licensee, one license holder would be responsible for all entities within that. So it'll be interesting to see what comes forward from that. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any further comments or questions for Councillor Sandu? All right, thank you very much, Councillor Sandu. Okay, we can move along to staff reports now. And the first staff report is from the Chief Administrative Officer. development permit 2020-08 for 288 Castley Heights, and I'll leave it to Mr. Fernandez.
Yes, the owner of that property, 288 Castley Heights, is looking to build a residence on that property. And because that property is in an OCP development permit area, it is dealing with steep slopes. He's required to apply for a development permit, and council has to identify what conditions he has to meet. And as you can see, the recommendation from the contract planner is laid out on the last page, the 3 recommendations, but I would think that you would want to add the last paragraph as one of the conditions, where it says the applicant needs to address rainwater management. And I would think that is a condition that should be included in the recommendation.
Councilor McGonigal, please.
I agree. For new subdivisions, rainwater management is implemented within the zoning portion of that. So for especially development permit areas and steep slopes, I think it's important to adhere to that function within that zone as well. So if needed, I would move that paragraph be added as bullet 4 on the recommendations. And with that, I would move the recommendations 1 through 4.
Seconded by Councilor Sandhu. Any discussion? Thank you. All those in favor? Opposed? That motion carries. Thank you very much. And
the second, if I may.
yes, please.
Second development permit deals with 130 Neva Road. That's the new gas and go. And the owner is proposing to put some gables on that building. And so it's a formality, but because it's in a development permit area, it needs council approvals. So that's why it's here. And it's basically saying that, you know, if you look at the recommendation of the contract planner, the recommendation is subject to him taking out a building permit.
And that's what it says. Approval of this development permit does not constitute approval of a building permit and any required signed permits. Alrighty. So a motion to approve this development permit with the one stipulation. Moved by Councillor Sandhu, seconded by Councillor Bomaka. Is there any discussion further discussion on this? Okay. I'll call the question then. All those in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, that motion carries as well. Moving along to number 3, Mr. Fernandez.
Yes, the timing of the COVID-19 resilience infrastructure grant couldn't have come at a better time. And the deadline for that is tomorrow. So you can imagine a lot of work's gone into it already. So I'm hoping council will approve the application to go forward, and for a project estimated at $1,862,193.
So that recommendation is moved by Councillor McGonigal, seconded by, sorry, who is the seconder? Councillor Austin. Any questions or discussion on that item? Councillor McGonigal, please.
I think this is timely, and I appreciate the background work that has been done by our CAO / grant writer / whatever other hat he's been wearing lately. This would, if I may, through you, Mayor Day, a question to the CAO.
Yes,
This
please.
would fully fund 100% the improvement, or is there still a contribution of the town?
No, it's a fully funded project if it comes under that amount. Should it go over, then the town would be held liable for those
So
additional, any cost overruns.
So follow up, if I may, with the municipal fund that we currently have, that would be utilized should there be any cost overruns.
Correct.
And a final one, if I may.
Yes, please.
Given that we have already implemented the start of the roof, et cetera, that will not impede the grant application as in previous updates?
No, because that was just a repair job. to make sure that we can continue to stay here. It was not construction as such.
Excellent. Thank you for the clarification.
Thank you, Councillor Sandhu.
Thank you. Through to our CAO. So you're asking for the 1.8 million?
Well, that's what we're applying for, yes.
Oh, okay. They have
Based
that,
on-
kind of-
Pardon me?
so they have that kind of grant money available.
The amount is, I think they have 89 million,
Okay.
and the project cost cannot exceed 10 million. So
Okay.
this is way under.
Ooh. Thank you.
Right. Okay, so it's been moved and seconded. Any further questions then? Okay, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? So none. Motion is carried. Thank you very much, Mr. Fernandez. And thank you for all your hard work in the past few days, filling in all the blanks. All right, so we can move along now to bylaws. Mr. Fernandez, can you introduce the bylaw, first bylaw? Could you unmute, please?
It's a rehash of what we've already approved, but we omitted to include the outside the charges for the outside residences that are not within the Lake Cowichan Fire District. So the fire protection services was omitted, and so that's why we added that. That's the only change.
All right, so looking for a motion to move the Town of Lake Cowichan fees and charges for services bylaw number 1047, 2020 or 2021. May be read a first, second, and third time. Moved by Councillor Austin, seconded by Councillor Sandhu. Any more discussion? All those in favor? None opposed, the motion carries. And B, Mr. Fernandez.
Yes, there was an omission. There was an omission in that bylaw too. We omitted to include outside user charges for sewer, so that has been added. Otherwise, the bylaw is intact as it was.
So looking for a motion. Looking for that motion to Town of Lake Cowichan Sewer Regulations Rates Bylaw number 1048, 2021 to be read first, second, and third time. Moved by Councillor McGonigal, seconded by Councillor Vomaka. Any further discussion? All those in favor? None opposed, the motion carries. Thank you very much. We can move along to new business, and we have none, which moves us to the mayor's report. And thank you very much for indulging me for a moment. January 2021 mayor's report. After a relaxing holiday break, most municipal and regional councils and boards are diving headfirst into their respective budget process. The Town of Lake Cowichan Council is no exception. Staff has presented council in a previous meeting some of the capital budget suggestions for council to consider for 2021. We hope to finish up in February discussing the remainder of the capital items. After that, we will meet to analyze the effect of the operational and capital costs contained in the draft budget. This is where your elected mayor and council really get down to business. All of us sitting around this table must do our best to decide the balance of the wants and needs of the community while carefully taking into account what property owners can afford. We who sit at this table are all taxpayers ourselves, so we take this process very seriously. All of our budget meetings will be live on our YouTube channel, where comments and questions from the public will be received and answered live via email. I wish to thank our entire staff for their input into the budget process, and especially our senior management for prioritizing capital projects to have the final budget adopted, hopefully sometime in March, so we can start the work that needs to be done. On the COVID-19 front, I am certain the majority of all of us are anxiously awaiting our turn to be vaccinated. While the vaccine is very near on the horizon, we must continue to follow all the guidelines still in place. We must continue to do our part to slow the spread of the virus until the majority of the population is vaccinated, and then health officials will be able to advise us on how best to stay safe. That is the end of my report, except I was able to sit in on a Island Health meeting hosted by the board chair and several high-level staff members, one of them being a person who talks with Bonnie Henry 3 times a week. And they addressed one of the concerns that we hear in the public, especially on social media, that the vaccine was rushed. It happened too fast. It's too dangerous. I don't want the vaccine. The person that responded to that question said that because of the technology that this exists today in developing vaccines, that if we think back 10 or 15 years ago, what appeared to be such a big issue then would have appeared like science fiction had we been watching it today, how it rolls out. So the work they are able to do in such a quick fashion, there's no shortcuts taken. It's just they have the utmost of all of the best technology in the palm of their hands. One other item, and Chief Seymour brought it up from members of his Cowichan tribes, there were elders concerned that if they took the vaccine, they would get COVID, or they were injecting COVID into the arms of people, and that is not so. There are no live ingredients in the vaccine. It is all laboratory fabricated. And I don't know all the science behind it, but it's not like the old days where they used to actually take smallpox, stir it up, put a liquid, stick it in your arm, right? So it's nothing live in the vaccine. So it is a safe vaccine, and no one should be concerned. And they've had minimal, probably less than a handful of allergic reactions to it as well. So I'll try and find a document to share with you on that, but that was a verbal report there. But if you can do some Googling, and I'll do some too to find a document to send out. So just so you're informed. So I guess we'll anxiously await our turn. So thank you very much. And that is my mayor's report for January. So now, any notices of motion? Don't see any. We'll attack our feature agendas Monday next week. So that moves us to question period. So we will pause till 7:23 in order to receive questions at our email address, general@lakecowichan.ca. So thank you, councilors. Get up and get yourself a drink of water if you like. And see you at 7:23.
Yeah.
Probably better off in council changes at this rate.
Yeah, I think it's okay.
Okay, here's I've got another one from Brent Clancy. It looks like.
Who's it from?
Brent Clancy, the two of them are just on a mission.
All right, 7:23 it is. So, Mr. Fernandez.
Yes, I've got a string of emails from Catherine Worsley. The first one is related to the agenda. Says congrats on getting the grant application completed for the project that you're looking to do for the town. As the town owns the visitor center, would it be possible that the town apply for a grant to furbish the visitor center, as it really needs to have the roof fixed, the logs con-blasted to shine them up, and as well as the gazebo out behind the BC. Put showers and better change rooms out under the gazebo as well. That's one. And just as an aside, we have allocated funding to do the roof. It's just that the roofer did not get to it last year, so we've re-budgeted that amount of money. And Catherine Wosley also has a string of emails dealing with topics not on the agenda. It's all dealing with transportation issues. And maybe, I think the public need to be aware that the question period should be limited to what's on the agenda.
Okay.
And we've got a couple more. I'll
Okay.
get. I've got one from Brent Clancy, but it's related to an item that council's discussing later on. And I think that's it.
Okay, so you're probably referring to an in-camera item, so we can't answer that question now, and I'm sure it'll be answered through staff after we finish our discussions. Also, with the items limited that aren't on the agenda that were asked, could you please save those emails? I did omit in mentioning that, and I'll try to answer those other questions later on. And I will also put in my script to make sure I mention that items, questions, and input is limited to items on the agenda. So,
If I may,
yes.
we could actually put it on the Public Works agenda, the items that Catherine's raised.
Okay. Very good. Thank you very much. I'll let you deal with that, sir. Councilor McGonigal.
And if I may, if the reply can be through yourself and staff, I think that would be appropriate. So we have the accompanying language for approvals, etc., just so that we're all on the same page.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you very much. Okay. Is that everything for questions for now?
That is indeed.
Thank you very much. Our next item is in camera, but before we go there, I would just like to thank the public who are attending our council meetings virtually for observing and participating in the process of your local government. Council would also like to thank all of our community volunteers, businesses, property owners, residents, and last but not least, our municipal staff for all the efforts put forth to make our community a better place to live. And thank you everybody who's attending virtually tonight. And good night. And Mr. Fernandez, the reason for moving in camera tonight.
Section 92 of the community charter requires that before a meeting or part of a meeting is to be closed to the public, council must state by resolution why the meeting is to be closed. And the basis on which the meeting is to be closed falls under the following. Section 91F of the community charter on law enforcement, and Section 91K on negotiations and related discussions respecting the proposed provision of a municipal service.
Move that we
Thank
go
you
in
very
camera.
much. Thank you very much, Councilor McGonigal, seconded by Councilor Alston. All those in favor? None opposed, the motion's carried. Thank you very much. And we will leave this meeting and reconvene on the other invite.
Indeed.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you.